Hey folks, Bridges here. I'm in my my pre-engineering class, second bell, and we are using Fusion for the very first time to work on the emergency kit project. And what we have here is we've got an emergency kit that we need to fill around, I think it's around 1,500 cubic inches. And to do that, what we've learned to do so far is we've opened Fusion. The first thing that we did was we went over here on the document settings and we changed our document settings from millimeters over here to units to be the inches. And we did that by clicking the pencil and then coming over here and saying inches. And I like to set mine as the default. So once you're set up with that, we're going to start by, before you can make a 3D image or a 3D object, we want to start with a 2D sketch. And we do that by creating a sketch right up here. And then it gives us three origin planes to choose from: the front, the side, and the top. And we're gonna build our box on the table and pull it up from there. So we'll choose the top plane. So your camera moves. You're now looking at the top of the view cube. Right now there's just space, empty space that you're looking at. And what we did yesterday was we went up here and used the 2-point rectangle. And when you do this, you don't want to click and drag. You want to click, move, click. So I'll find my origin. I'll lock in. See, Jordan. We'll click once. We'll move our mouse. And as you move your mouse, this is called a dynamic input. It lets you type in the dimensions as you move. And you could do that, or you could just click a random size rectangle and dimension it after the shape is made. And that's what I'm going to do. So I had to go and check on my spreadsheet to see what size of box that I actually need, and I found what I need is I need an internal capacity of my box to be 14 by 11. Okay, so if the internal capacity is 14 by 11 by 10 inches tall, we need the outside to be a bit bigger than that. So this is a little different from what we did yesterday, second bell. We're actually going to make the outside of the box first this time. And to do that, we're going to make the outside of the box bigger than the inside. So I'm going to click on my dimension tool here. And I'm going to click once on the baseline of my box. And then I'm going to move my mouse down away. And then I'm going to click a second time to place that dimension there. And I'm going to type in a dimension bigger than 14. So I'm going to type in 15. And then enter. And look, it makes my rectangle so big that it goes off my screen. Here's a little trick that I didn't show you yesterday. If you come down here and look at the magnifying glass, you might need to click the drop down arrow. But if you choose fit, it zooms to fit whatever you have in the window. And then I can zoom out just a bit. I'll repeat that process. I'm still on the dimension tool. I'm this time going to click on the side of my rectangle one time. I move away from the rectangle and then click again to place the dimension. And this needs to be bigger than 11, so I'm going to call it 12. Enter. Once again, I press the F6 button, and it zooms to fit whatever is on my screen perfectly. So that's nice. We've got a 15 by 12, and that's the base of my box. I'm going to go ahead and hit the Finish Sketch button. So when I hit the finish sketch button, it locks it in and I'm back in solid mode again. Okay. I always like to come up here to my view cube and go to the home view after my 2D sketch and before I make it 3D. I zoom out a little bit as well. So to make this 2D sketch 3D, I need to pull it up out of the paper. And I do that by using the extrude feature. So I'll click extrude. There's only one shape to extrude, so it's automatically selected for me. That's why it's blue. And it does let me pull it up. Now remember, I need my box to be, the inside of it to be 10 inches tall, the empty space on the inside. But I also need there to be a solid floor on the bottom of my box. So I'm going to come up a little bit extra. I'm going to come up 10 inches plus another ½ inch. So I'm going to say the distance of 10.5. So there's our first box. Good job. Give yourself a pat on the back. You made a 15 by 12 by 10.5 inch box. And now we're going to hollow it out. Now there's two ways to hollow it out that I'm going to show you. The first way is a basic way that I think you should know, and the second way is like a cheat code. So the first way is the basic way, and that is we're going to sketch once again, and this time instead of sketching in space, we're going to sketch on the top of the box. So I'll click up on top as my drawing plane. Now we're going to set this up to where we have a center point for the box. Okay? And an old carpenter's trick is to make lines from the corner to corner on a rectangle. So I'm going to do corner to corner using the line tool. I got my line tool right here. And then I'm going to go corner to corner again. And what that does is it tells us where the dead center of that rectangle is. Now, I'm actually going to select both these lines using a control click. I've got my line selected, and this is just optional, but it's good practice to come over here to line type, and we're going to say these are called construction lines, which means they're not actually part of the object. Does that make sense? And while we're there, let's go ahead and create a point, and we're just going to put a center point. Once again, I want to create point, and put that center point right there at that intersection of that box. So now I know where the center of my box is. So now when I hollow it out, I know that it's in the right place. Before I finish my sketch, the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make another rectangle. But this time, there's a little trick. These are just the most commonly used sketch tools. If we click Create, we can see a full list. And we can come down here and select Center Rectangle. And this is a different way of making rectangles that is going to be more appropriate in this case. And I'm going to choose my center point. And now as I get larger, that dynamic input asks me, how big do you want to make this rectangle? Remember, this is going to be what the cutout for the box is, the hollow inside. So I can go ahead and type those dimensions in right now while those dynamic inputs are activated. And right now it's asking me for the up and down dimension. That's the Y dimension. And if you remember, I said it needed to be 11 inches. So I'll type in 11 that way. And then to get my mouse over to the other box, I want to press the Tab key. And that allows me to type in my other dimension, which was supposed to be 14. Now, that's where the hollow is going to be inside my box. I'll press Enter, and there it is. Don't forget, when you finish with your 2D sketch, we're going to come up here to the home view, and we're going to look at it. It's called an isometric point of view, where I can see a little bit of the front, a little bit of the side, and a little bit of the top, all equally. Now, at this point, we are ready to finish our sketch, and we are ready to extrude again. But this time, when I extrude, remember last time we extruded, it automatically chose the shape for us. Now this time we've got we've got lots of different things that we could extrude. We could extrude off the front, off the side. We could extrude the little picture frame. We don't want to do that. We want to extrude this area in the middle. And instead of coming up and joining, we instead want to push it down. We want to cut away. And how far down do we want to go? Well, look, there's a minus in front, which means that we're going in the negative direction. So we're going to go down minus 10 inches, negative 10 inches. And that, folks, gives us the internal dimensions that we're looking for. Bless you. And you can check that by using a neat little tool over here called Inspect. Okay, you can choose from this internal wall to this internal wall, and it says that is 11 inches. I click the undo button. I can click this internal wall to that internal wall, and it gives me a distance of 14 inches. I can click the undo button, and I can say the length of this seam right here on the inside, that's 10 inches. And when I multiply all those together, it gives me the capacity that I'm looking for. There's probably a way to calculate capacity on here. Now, if you remember, I told you that I was going to show you a cheat code, a hack to make that hollow. Okay, what I can do, I can look down here in my timeline. I can see that this extrusion and that sketch don't really even need to be done. I can roll back my time machine. I just moved the marker back before those. So those are still being done in the future, but right now, here's where we're at. what we can do is, instead, I'm going to go ahead and just delete those things. Another way that I could do it is I could use this shell feature. So I'm back to my solid block, and if I use the shell feature, instead of sketching and extruding, I can use shell. And what we need to click on is the open side, the side that we want to be open. That's going to be right here, isn't it? And what it's asking us now is, if I hold my mouse steady, it says select faces to remove or body to shell. Well, that's the only face I want to remove. And then the thickness of the wall, let's type in 0.5. Look at that. It shelled it out for us. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Okay. At this point in time, I would like for you to try this. I hope that you followed along and made a box that fits for our example, the items that I'm putting in my emergency kit. But now I want you to go out and try this on your own. So you would go to File, you would go to New Design, and you would do all of this on your own to make a box that fits your items that you selected for the emergency kit. Good luck.